This is everything you need to know to develop professionally in Unity. And yes, there's a lot. But we want to make it clear that all the tools we're going to show you are actually used in the industry. And we're super excited that we finally managed to bring everything together in one place. We'll also break down what's expected from a Unity developer at every stage of his evolution. So hold on tight because we got a lot to share today. Before we can become Unity developers, we first need to become C# developers. So let's go back to the basics of the basics. Like any programming language, we store information using variables. The most common ones are the primitives, which are stored as value types, like int, bool, or char. And then there are the reference types, which store a memory pointer and not the memory itself, like string and object. Moving on, enum is a convenient way to store a list of options. And there are many more complex variables, like datetime, for representing time. To store multiple variables easily, we have data structures, like array, list, or dictionary. And of course, each of these structures has its purpose and trade-offs, so it's important to know when to use which one. We can define additional properties for a variable by using declaration keywords, like static, read-only, or const, which is kinda like a mix of the two. Another usage for static is in method signatures, or properties, which are basically methods too. If we want to repeat an action several times, we can use loops like for or for each, which, fun fact, are actually implemented by while loops under the hood. Here comes some logic stuff. If and else are as intuitive as they sound, and we can even simplify them with the ternary operator. Namespaces often don't get the respect they deserve. They help us organize the dependencies of a document and prevent conflicts between libraries. Events allow us to register actions and then call all of them at once when the event happens. And we'll dive deeper into actions when we'll get to it. Error handling is like carrying an umbrella on a cloudy day. Usually it's unnecessary and annoying, but when it rains, you're glad you have it. So, it's important to know when to use try and catch, but also when to avoid it. Alright, we've finished the basics of programming, and now we can move on to a key feature of C# that not every language is lucky to have, which is object-oriented programming. And of course, the first topic is objects. It all started with struct, which is a value type that allows us to pack several fields into one convenient structure. But if the object is more bombastic, we have class, which is a reference type, and it's crucial to master the differences and usages of both. Another advantage of classes is that they allow inheritance, which lets us reuse code by extending the properties of another class. And when necessary, we can even override and modify them. Overall, OOP is an awesome and broad topic with tons of tricks and techniques to master, but we'll dive more into that when we get to design patterns. So, what we call Programming Introduction 101 is behind us. But before we can get into Unity, there's some math background we highly recommend knowing. Unity's world is 3D, even if the game we're building is 2D, and positions in this world are expressed using vectors, which represent points or directions in space. Something that's not required but nice to know is matrices, which later will explain how they represent every object in Unity. Once we understand vectors, we can play with them through functions and start having fun. For example, we can animate an object smoothly, or detect when two objects are facing each other. Just as Unity represents position with vectors, it represents rotation with quaternions. Quaternions might seem confusing at first because rotating a 3D object requires a 4D rotation. But once you get the hang of it, it's really not that bad. While we're on the topic of rotation, sine and cosine help calculate angles between vectors, and thanks to their wavy, repetitive nature, they've become one of the most useful functions in programming, and you'll encounter them everywhere. Awesome! We've built a solid math foundation, and we can improve it by pairing it with a bit of physics. No worries, knowing the basics is enough. For example, understanding how objects move in space, and how forces affect them. Great! Now that we've got the math down, the last thing we need to cover before diving deeper is, of course, the core concepts of Unity itself. Unity is commonly split into two territories: code, which is the area the developer specializes in, and the editor, which is the playground of the tech artist. Now in practice, because there's a lot of crossover between the two, the developer also needs to know a lot about the editor. So let's start there. Like any software, Unity consists of windows, which are its heart. So here are the most important ones. A wise Chinese man once said, "You haven't said Unity if you haven't said GameObject." because it's the object that lives in Unity's world. And we can also attach properties to it, which in Unity are called components, like the transform component, which is represented by the matrix we talked about earlier, is something every game object in Unity has. Besides it, Unity has many, many more components, and in our opinion, these are the most useful among them. A small anecdote: Unity has a new UI system called UI Toolkit, but as of today, only a few people use it, and everyone is waiting for it to be fully production ready. That's why we chose not to include it here. We mentioned that components define the game object, but there are two other small properties that every game object has, which are tag and layer. Layers group game objects together in an anonymous way, like a UI layer which will be rendered differently by the camera. Tags, on the other hand, represent an object at a more specific level, like a main camera tag, so developers can quickly find it. Another broad field in Unity is animation. In a nutshell, using keyframes, we can create any animation we want. And once we've created a few animations, we can control the transitions between them using the animator controller. Besides animation files, there are other useful assets. Prefabs save us a pre-made version of a game object, and that's where the name comes from since it's prefabricated. Or material, which gives visual properties to an object, like color and metallicness. So we talked about files. Now let's talk about folders. Unity has special folder names, each with specific role, like the Resources folder for loading assets, or the Editor folder, which Unity ignores during the build process. As we've seen, even before diving into programming, there are many topics to know in Unity. And now it's time to get into the code that controls them all. Just like Unity has built-in components, we can code our own custom components. And we can attach the new script to a game object by inheriting from mono behavior. This also gives us access to Unity's lifecycle. For instance, turning on an object when it's created. Or every frame while the game runs, move it to the right. And if we want to control how fast the time moves, we can manipulate time.timescale. Now, if we only want to move the object when the arrow key is pressed, we can wrap that in a condition which checks for key presses in that frame. Note that this overly simplified example uses Unity's old input system. For serious projects, it's better to switch to the new input system, which is way more flexible. Unity's physics system has some cool features too, like detecting collisions with on-collision enter, or shooting rays with raycast, which returns true if it hits something. Classic for shooting games. And if we want to keep track of the player's high score, we can save it across sessions using player prefs. But be careful, this is an infantile way to save data because it's saved locally and players can easily edit it. So it's mainly used for worthless data, while everything else is stored on a secured server. To dynamically load an object, like the player's gun, we can use resources.load to load it from the resources folder we mentioned earlier, and we'll create it with instantiate. We've reached our last point for this video, which, let's say, if the code in the editor had a baby, this would be it. Visual scripting, previously known as Bolt, is Unity's competitor to Blueprints in Unreal, for those familiar. It allows us to create code logic using node-based graphs, a great solution for those who aren't too familiar with programming. So let's summarize what we've covered so far. We went over the basics of programming, the math foundations, and Unity basics. Although it feels like we've covered a lot today, and indeed there are many online courses that teach until this point, unfortunately, even after mastering all this, the industry will still see us as beginner developers, and it'll be tough to land a job in the field. So in the next video, we'll take it to the next level and dive deeper into the advanced topics. Enjoyed the video? Share it with your friends, and show us that love with a thumbs up and subscribe. And thanks a lot for watching. We hope to see you soon in another Practic API video.